Marilyn, hi, thank you for coming. Just see that you're here too.
Barbara, can we start or should we wait for David?
Yeah, sure, because it's a time constraint, so absolutely. Start, please. Oh.
So Marlene is with us tonight, but she's having some audio issue, so she can't speak. She'll try to, but she's having problem with her computer.
Who is this?
Marlene is
Oh, Marilyn Newman. Oh, sorry.
is online.
Yeah, I saw her when I went to participants.
Nyla. All right. We're all here, Barbara.
Terrific. Do it.
Okay, so there has been a slight change in our agenda items. Andrea is not able to attend tonight's meeting, so the first agenda that we have tonight is the presentation of the results of the residential capture rate study conducted at the MERF last year. And we're glad to have with us today Ms. Melissa Filiagi of MES. He's the Division Chief for Operations MES, and she'll do the presentation. So she has very limited time, only 20 minutes, 10 minutes for presentation and 10 minutes for questions and answer. And then if you have additional questions, you can email me and I'll forward it to Melissa. So Melissa, you have the floor. I'll stop sharing, Melissa. You're muted, Melissa.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Thank you. It looks like I don't have the ability to share. The message I'm getting is host disabled participant screen sharing. So I don't know if there's a button we can hit on that.
I can share, Melissa.
Sure, that's perfect.
Give me 1 second. Hold on.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so I'm fairly certain that everyone in this particular group is familiar with the waste audit and the waste composition study that's been done.
We don't know the results of it, but we know it's done.
Okay. But you know that it exists and that it's been done. So we've got a couple of things in here. Kevin, if you want to go to the next slide. A recycling rate capture study is partnered with a waste composition study, because the idea for the recycling rate capture study is to figure out how much material is being grabbed out of the full pot, the full disposal. So this is briefly what the countywide waste composition study demonstrated. So paper is roughly 22%, plastic 16%, and organics roughly 30%. For this purpose, the biggest thing to remember is that 22% of paper and 16% of plastics is what we're going to reference a little bit further down. You can go to the next slide. And this shows you information broken out by streams. So again, your blue there at the bottom is your paper. So you're not getting much paper in your bulky collection pickup, but you're getting a good bit in your municipality. Pink is plastics, and then the light blue is organics. So it's really useful to give the county an idea of where to continue to focus their efforts. Go to the next one. And then there's the school material as well. So 29% paper and 44% organics in the school composition, which is interesting. You can go to the next one. So this is really the point of the presentation that we're going to do today is to look at that capture study. So as I said, it's completed as a companion to the waste composition study. You can't really do a capture rate study without the waste composition study because you wouldn't have that denominator. You wouldn't know the total material that is being thrown away to figure out how much to capture. So it's,
Let me just quickly ask. So the the composition study is just what's going to the landfill, or it's a landfill plus a MRF?
most of the composition studies are specific to one location. So I believe in this case, it was just in the landfill, correct, Kevin?
Yes.
We have our own procedures at the MRF to look at the material that's coming in. So, and then this capture rate study was done at the MRF to be a companion piece to the composition study. So if you think about it, this little graphic here, a typical home has about 800 pounds of recyclable paper. So if there's 400 pounds of recycling in the recycling of the paper in the recycling, and there's 400 pounds in the trash, then your capture rate is 50% of the available materials being captured at the MRF. So it provides a general idea of where to focus the limited dollars and limited energy for education and outreach. And that's really why they're useful when you can compare them with the waste audit. You can go to the next slide. Right, so this gives you an idea of the generation in the county. So MSW going for disposal per household is about 39 pounds a week. Curbside recycling is about 9 of that. That makes sense. Your trash tends to be a lot wetter and heavier than your recycling full of empty bottles and cans. So that shows you kind of what you're working with. Okay, the next one. And then they group the material by targeted and non-targeted materials. So this gives you an example of paper and plastic and what is considered targeted versus non-targeted. So things that are easily recyclable, corrugated cardboard, newspaper, magazines, mixed paper, would be considered the targeted material. Paper towels, napkins, compostable paper, and the remainder of compostable paper is a contaminant. So those would be targeted if we were looking at something like the composting facility, but for sale into a MRF situation, those would be contaminated. We don't want paper towels or damaged, wet pizza boxes and things in our cardboard bales. Same thing with the plastics. We have targeted plastics, primarily bottles and containers, and then non-targeted plastics. So garbage bags, chip bags, candy wrappers, and so on.
Number
So
6 is a targeted?
no, there's not much of a market for polystyrene.
If you have it listed targeted.
Number 6 that's polystyrene. Down here is the contaminant.
Oh, because you have other number 3 through number 7.
Right. So bottles and cans can be a little bit different, but specifically polystyrene is it's a contaminant in the system in this particular study. And again, this is a broad methodological study that compares how they manage the waste composition as well. The categories have to line up. You can go to the next one. All right, so this particular graph shows you that out of the unincorporated area curbside recycling composition, 46% is paper, 37% is containers, and then about 19% is contaminants. And that's really impressive, given the scale of this program and the number of people that it serves. To have such a low contamination rate is a real credit to the county and the education and outreach staff. Historically, most large municipal recycling programs have contamination rates of somewhere between 25–30%, sometimes even more. So to have something this low is a real credit to the county's efforts in educating the residents. Go to the next one. I thought this one was interesting because it was a comparison of the bagged material coming in through the facility. And what this demonstrates is that anything coming in bagged is generally bagged contaminants. So we've got targeted paper, targeted containers, and then contaminants when you're coming in with a bag that ends up in the recycling. So generally what you're finding is that if a bag is in there, it's full of trash. It might be picked accidentally. It's not necessarily full of anything that you're really looking for. You can go to the next one. So the capture rate in total was 49.8%. The national average is 50 to 60%. So again, the county is doing a really good job of capturing the recycling that's in the stream. One caveat was that this study was done between August 23rd and 26th. So it's a snapshot. It could vary seasonally. That percentage could go up significantly at different points in the year. So it's a snapshot and it's a picture. But overall, the picture is one of a very successful program that's grabbing a lot of material and diverting a lot of material out of the waste stream. You can go to the next one. So specifically, what are we capturing? Under the broad category of paper, we're capturing 53% of the available paper. So in the waste, from the waste composition study, they're estimating that there's 207 pounds of paper generated per person per year that's going into the trash, 239 that's going into the recycling. So we're capturing a 53.6% of the available paper. If you look at cardboard, the estimate is as high as 70, almost 71%. So we're really capturing a lot of the cardboard boxes in the county. Clean pizza boxes also were estimated to be capturing 67. So again, the message is really getting out to people that if it's clean, put it in your recycling. Put your boxes in your recycling. Mixed paper, on average, was about 36%. Newsprint and magazines is pretty high. The broader mixed paper category is a total of 26%. And you're going to find all sorts of different papers in there, junk mail, writing paper, things of that nature. So that area is somewhere that if the county wanted to, they could expand information around, right? Focusing on put all of your paper, all of your clean paper in the recycling bin. You can go to the next one. Plastics also has a pretty good capture rate. Overall, it's 36%. So again, the household, each household's estimated to generate 107 pounds in the trash, 61 pounds into the recycling. So it's a little bit lower than your fiber, but still a strong showing. And we've got 3 different kinds of plastics there that are upwards of 50%. And then there's some focus for education here at the bottom, right? Polypropylene tubs and trays, things like yogurt containers, cottage cheese containers could be an area of education and outreach. Polypropylene bottles, you see those sometimes. So that can help to target education and outreach efforts. And then metals and glass are also, metals are in the 30s. So that's an area where outreach could be done as well to focus on capturing those aluminum cans. And then your glass and bottles are at 56%. You can go to the next one. So the school compositions mirror the county in some ways. Paper is always going to be the highest in any recycling stream. It's 81% in the schools. And then your 13%, it's a little bit lower than the municipal rate in plastics. So a lot of the material that schools are generating is going to be paper or organics. Their contamination rate, at least for organics, is pretty low. So the schools are bringing in a good stream of strongly recyclable material, and that's also to be commended. Go to the next one. All right, so overall, the program is performing really well. As far as very large municipal programs go, this is one of the best in the country, performing very, very well. But there's always room for focus on particular items to improve that capture rate. So areas of particular interest based on this data, we can improve aluminum and steel cans, mixed paper, and other non-drink bottle plastics. For example, reminding individuals that shampoo bottles, soap bottles, things of that nature can also go in your recycling. So these are things that people are comfortable recycling. We have good processing, they have good markets, and we can improve that capture rate. And then schools and municipalities can continue to focus on fiber and plastics. But overall, with a high capture rate and a low contamination rate, the county's program is performing really quite well. And that's pretty much it, Kevin. So if you want to stop sharing, I can take any questions for a few more minutes.
Plastic bags that you take to the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
I actually asked and went through a bunch of people at our grocery store to get to whoever supposedly knows, to find out some heavier plastic bags that aren't really like the ones that the grocery store hands out. And they said, yeah, all of these are fine. And then they volunteered that they get rid of them because the county comes and picks them up from them. Is that correct? That the grocery store, like Giant, where they collect the plastic bags, that those are then collected by the county?
Kevin, you want to handle that one?
Barbara, could you repeat your question, please?
Right. Marilyn just chimed in and said, no, that's not correct. They're not coming through the MRF. What tends to happen with those facilities is that they will backhaul that material. A lot of big grocery stores also backhaul their cardboard. So when they get a supply truck would go back to a centralized office that's empty or a centralized warehouse that's empty. So they'll take the store separated plastic bags, they'll take their cardboard, put it in the truck, take it back to a centralized area where it's baled and sold with all of the other material coming from the stores. And Marilyn chimed in as well and said the county does not collect any trash or recycling from the commercial sector.
Okay, because I was asking them because I wanted to talk to whoever it goes to make sure that these things were okay. And then they said it was the county. So, okay, just good to know that they don't even know.
Marilyn, is there any reason why the yard waste isn't included in the diversion numbers? Because that's removed from the trash stream and not put in the landfill.
So for this particular study, it was specific to the MRF and MRF material.
So it's just things going to MRF. Okay.
Yep, it's looking at a capture rate for recyclables. It's not looking for.
Is there a study or is there some place where those numbers that relate to the yard waste removal are captured and then reported to the state or to somebody as well as what's removed in the MRF?
Yes, we know, and the county knows how much material is processed through the organics facility and how much of that's coming from the county.
So there's a cumulative number someplace.
Mhm.
So the overall removal from the waste stream is higher than what's just happening at the MRF.
Right, and the county has, they track that each year.
Okay, thank you.
Melissa, this is Dave Roush. I have a question for you.
Sure.
What about the municipal waste and the recyclables that are collected there, because they're brought to your MRF as well, right? And I was trying to watch the numbers as you were kind of going through there fairly quickly. Is there a number that describes what the municipals are contributing to the MRF?
The specific municipalities?
Maybe municipalities in general. I know there are a number of municipalities that have recycling programs, and I'm assuming they're bringing it to the MRF.
Yep, so anything that comes into the MRF is weighed. So we know what municipalities are bringing in, what volume of material. And then you could work backwards to figure out the composition based on the composition overall. We've done, some municipalities do waste sorts and they ask to help, take pictures and things of that nature. This study did not get into that level of detail where it would know what individual municipalities are putting through.
So the municipalities were thrown in with the county pickup, or they were just ignored in this study that you presented to us?
The study was what was coming in through the MRF on those days. So it was a sample, it's an overall sample of county activity.
Okay,
Since
so when the municipalities are part of that.
Yes, since the MRF only takes Prince George's County residential material, Marilyn said we only compared county collected recycling and county collected. So this is county material. Sorry about that.
Can we get your slides? A copy of?
Sure, the county has them and
Maybe if you don't mind sending them to Kevin, and then he's very generous and forwards things to us.
he's got them.
Yeah, we can provide you a copy of the slides.
Cool.
Questions?
I have one more.
Mhm.
Melissa, based on the information you got, and you said the county is actually doing a decent job, it's around 50%.
Mhm.
And that compares, I guess, nationally to from 50 to 60%.
Mhm.
What do you think we could be doing to increase that rate? Even though looks like it's pretty decent, but how can we make it a little better?
Sure, sure. So yeah, a continued focus on education and outreach is always important, reminding people what they can recycle. And this gives some great data as to how to focus on those materials. So, paper other than your writing, newspaper, things of that nature could use some additional education and outreach. So they can just keep doing what they're doing if they're doing a really good job, but include some specific information about those kinds of paper materials. So maybe people don't realize, they think about recycling as a kitchen-based activity. So they might not be realizing that all of your shampoo bottles are HDPE, and they could bring those downstairs and put them out with the recycling.
Well,
That's
not
a
all
simple-
not all jurisdictions take things like shampoo bottles. So I think a lot of people get confused. Or you take motor oil, plastic cans too, plastic containers?
We don't get many of those. That's not.
But do you
generally
take them?
part.
Is that a contaminant, or is that a good or a bad?
We wouldn't want to include those if we can avoid it.
They don't
Can
take
we get
cans that
from-
have stains in them because I've got 12 of them in my backyard for the last year because they won't take them. They were put in the trash and they wouldn't take them. And they're metal containers, but they had fence stain. And they wouldn't take it from the curb.
They take it to hazardous waste then.
Mhm.
I assume that's where it has to go.
Can we get from you, Melissa, a list of what is acceptable and what isn't? Because things like, we wouldn't know that the shampoo bottles are acceptable, but the motor oil plastic bottles are not acceptable.
Right. So
So,
it's a little bit tricky. The county's worked really hard on getting their lists on their website to address those kind of things. Generally, the safest way to do it is household bottles and containers are acceptable plastics. Drink containers, food containers, shampoo, soap, things of that nature.
Aren't
If you
aren't
kind
the- aren't the containers all marked with the recycle numbers now?
Many of them have the resin codes. They're 1 and then 2. 1, 2s, and 5s are really the ones you want to target. All right, excellent. All
it
right,
was
well,
very helpful.
good. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, Melissa.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Bye.
So Kevin, Melissa said that in response to Chuck's question, that the county has numbers for what goes to the landfill that includes how much of like yard wastes are going there rather than going to the yard waste facility. Can we get that more, and that she, I guess, was gave us a curated list of what went to the landfill? Can we get the more complete list of the landfill?
All right, okay.
Great. And so hopping down maybe to number 4, the centralized SWAC file. Because we keep asking you for a copy of this and a copy of that and a copy of the other thing, and you very kindly take the time and provide that. We appreciate.
Barbara,
But-
I don't know if you looked at your email, but the link is there as of roughly 4:30 this afternoon.
Oh.
So the files can be put in the link, but the link was created and it is active. I got into it this afternoon.
Cool.
Yes, our information and technology office sent the invite to access the link. You just have to sign on your Microsoft account or sign up, and then you can access the link.
Cool.
I had no problems getting.
So, Kevin, this is Dave Brosh again. We sent you, I guess, a list of some things that would be helpful to have, and that will be on that SWAC file then.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Super. That'll be very nice. Okay, so now moving backwards, does anybody have any additional comments for the solid waste, a 10-year solid waste plan over what we have submitted a couple of months ago? Okay, so I guess you have gotten everything that the SWAC is going to provide, Kevin.
Yes, I have the compilation of your comments.
Okay. So we were going to discuss the Department of Environment budget, which, yeah, as Kevin said, we can't do because we didn't have super senior honcho or Andrea or whoever here to do it this time. But does anybody have any comments that they would like to share right now at this meeting after reading the study, if indeed you read it, before next month, when hopefully Andrea will be here and we can discuss.
Barbara,
with
I don't
her.
know if I don't know if it's worth talking about, but the budget goes along with Brown Station Road is going to be around for 60 years. And there's no comments about any additional studies. Is that the best policy, and should it be reviewed and periodically, or at some point should other options be considered? But when you read the budget, it clearly indicates that it's going to be around for a lot longer than any of us that live here had ever hoped, and we're told. I would hope at some point, and I don't think this budget is the appropriate avenue to do it, but I hope at some point somebody will consider, do we need to look at, is that the best way to be disposing of the solid waste in Prince George's County into that many years into the future? And the other thing that I didn't see specifically addressed, particularly in the budget portion, it may be in the narrative someplace buried, the methane gas issue and, the study, the ongoing study, I didn't see any specific information in the narrative about that ongoing study and what the implications that it are. I did see where there's planning for the piping of the gas down to Brown or down to the correctional facility, which I think is an excellent idea to get that back functioning. It was a big help.
But Chuck, I was looking for that and I missed that. Maybe someone could point me to that, because I was also wondering about if that is currently part of the budget.
It had zero revenue from it in one of the tables.
Okay, well, that means that it's not functioning. And I guess that's my
The
question.
pipeline is currently not functioning. That is correct. And there's money apparently to replace it or to rebuild it and move forward with getting it back in function. Let me see if I see any notes that I kept specifically where that was.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to ask, it's, I think, been a while since that pipe was closed and they're just flaring the methane right now. like to know what the schedule is for actually getting that running again. If that's something we can find out, and that's probably not part of the budget,
But that might be a good thing for a presentation at some future meeting, Kevin, is,
But
because
there,
if,
it may be in there and it may be buried. The categories are so broad and undetailed. There's stuff about miscellaneous activity and it could be of operation and it could be buried in there. That's where we need somebody who knows about the details of the budget.
yeah, I mean, it's not written in the
I don't
text
see-
that you read it.
There's not much.
Yeah, I don't see in my specific notes that I took when I was going through it exactly where I saw it, but there was discussion of redoing the pipeline.
I don't remember seeing that, but
Chuck, just to chime in, so the UMD study will be conducted using a grant. So that's why it's not in the budget. The money will be sourced from a grant program.
Okay,
well, there is a section that describes all the grants and the funding. So it should be apparent then in one of those sections. It's at the end of that 30-page document somewhere then.
So Nancy, it's a UMD grant, not it's UMD who is sourcing the grant, not the county.
Yeah,
So
well,
it's an external.
but it looks like there's a list of grants that are sourced from all different kinds of sources, both public and private, that are listed.
Okay.
So if that's the case, it should be listed in there if it's a grant for 2024,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
I didn't see it when I scanned the grant, but I might have missed it.
I wasn't unfortunately able to print the document, which would have been really helpful, but
There was also nothing in there about, they've been saying that they're wanting to start planning for repurpose, reuse.
for a transfer station in North County, there's nothing in there.
Yeah, and there's no mention of any of those, not even for planning of them.
Right.
Is that, or is that something we ask Andrea about also probably?
I would guess. I mean, the other question, yes, I think we need to ask about that. I think the other question I had in addition to that, because Andrea had been discussing working, and I believed it was in somewhat short order, some kind of transfer station, which to include some kind of reuse function or reuse or source reduction function. But also I would like to know more about the operation of the MRF, and there's no detail in that budget. It just has an income category. But at some point I would like to know, the kind of, what kind of, how that's all working. And I'd like to understand the contracts that Waste Management has with that facility. I think that's really important. It's a huge income generator and a huge expense. And I feel like we should understand, is there a profit being generated for the county? How much money are we paying Waste Management to do this, et cetera?
Yeah, there's also nothing that I could find in there on the contract with the haulers, with Bates.
And that too,
whatnot.
yes. And Bates has
Or-
been an issue in the community.
Yeah.
Nancy, just to clarify, we don't have a contract with Waste Management. What we have is a contract with MES because they're the one managing the MRF.
Okay. Okay, so it's MES who's doing that.
Correct, that's correct.
And the county owns the MRF and MES is
Yes. Mhm.
okay, so it's
So-
public. Okay.
OCF and MRF are managed by MES, but they are owned by the county. Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Do we have any idea how many people are contractors for the various haulers, if you add them all up?
You mean how many haulers?
I think there are 12 haulers, or at least they used to
Yeah.
be, but how many individuals, how many
Uh,
salaried employees?
County doesn't pay those, the contractor pays those.
We
But
have
the
15
county pays the contractor. That's
Yes,
why I'm
we
trying
have-
to figure
That's
out.
the contract. It has nothing to do with how much they're paid or how many employees they have. It's just a flat sum for services.
But they don't have that flat sum in the budget, close as I could tell, or at least not broken out in any way that I could see it.
So we have
Are you-
15 contractors, Barbara.
I'm sorry?
We have 15 contractors.
There are 15 haulers. And do you know about how many employees each one has?
No, I don't have that number. Because we deal with the contractors.
How much the county is paying for these contractors?
So so the county pays by the number of houses being served by the haulers, not by number of employees that they hire.
Okay, do you know how much money the county is paying?
I don't have that number right now, Barbara.
So Kevin, who would be the best person to really meet with us or go over the budget with us? Would that be Andrea or somebody else in the department?
I would say either Marlin or Andrea.
Who?
Could be Marlin or Andrea on the budget.
I was gonna say, shouldn't someone in the budget office be able to answer those questions?
Possibly, yes.
They're usually the ones, although the agencies are at the table when they go before the council, it's usually the budget office that gets the heavy questions.
Yeah, for the details, I guess. Our budget office can provide answers.
Yeah, so Marilyn just put in that we can email questions to Kevin and he can email us back answers. But it would probably be helpful to actually have a real humanoid at a real meeting who we can talk to. And I don't know if that is you, Marilyn, once your audio starts working, or a budget person, or Andrea or whatnot, but. What do 23 full-time planners do? Seems like a hell of a lot. It's like 8% of the total employees.
I think that's for planners in DOE, the whole department.
What are they planning?
So in the case of RRD, planners are in charge of helping develop programs and services, do research, monitor programs, different tasks, deal with performance measures. So it's, the tasks are distributed among planners at RRD.
Are they involved in the stormwater area?
Sorry?
Are they involved with the stormwater areas and stormwater issues?
Stormwater is a different,
It's not under
it's within, it's under
DOE
the,
doesn't, or DE.
it's under the umbrella of DOE, but it's a different division from the
So
resource.
that's not the same planners.
Yeah, I think I would say so, yes.
Carolyn said there's only 4 working directly in the Resource Recovery Division. The rest are working I presume, in the other divisions.
Other divisions, yes.
Yeah, and there's 7 areas, I think, for the department, and ours is just one of that.
Okay, yeah, that's why it's so
It's about
helpful to,
3 or 4 per area. On average.
that's why it's so helpful to have somebody who knows, because when you hear 23 planners, you go, whoa.
Yeah, the functions vary from division to division, so
Okay, so is there other things we want to talk about on the budget before we have a meeting with hopefully Andrea here and or Marilyn having audio? So then maybe we should go and discuss this remaining elephant in the room, the role of the SWAC. I mean, which is something that I think we do want to discuss with Andrea very much also. How she feels, if she feels that the SWAC can do things to aid the DOE's solid waste mission. Or if we are just an annoyance who should be held at arm's length and seen as little as possible. Because sort of what.
Barbara, here's my personal comment. I don't think it's the role of the SWAC. I think the legislation clearly establishes the role. I think it's how it's being interpreted by the county and how it's being limited to implement it. And I hate to say that, but I think our hands have been tied. Every suggestion that I think you brought forward, it's been very difficult to get any movement. While there's been some progress, it's been little. You've made several suggestions to, and most of the time we're told, well, you can't do that, and you can't do this, and you can't do that. So I don't know. I don't think it's the role. I think it's how it's being handled.
Yeah, I will humbly say that I don't think that is a legislative restriction. I think it is, that's, I guess, what I would love to hear from Andrea. If she really feels that we could be helpful in how, or if she feels that we're just an annoyance who you want to have as little contact with as possible. Because kind of how we proceed, indeed, if we proceed, it depends a lot, I think, on that answer.
I agree with you.
I also
And-
think, Barbara, I
Please.
also think the SWAC is in kind of a difficult position because up till now, I think I personally don't know that much about how DOE operates and kind of what all the programs are. I think maybe we're going to get some information through some of those questions we've asked and those documents we'd like. But it's kind of hard to be a functioning SWAC if you don't really have enough information.
Right.
I would say that we move along as we are required to do by legislative mandate and collect and just request and continue to request the information and educate ourselves about our role and what we can do. I think there's a lot we can do. And I think we need to just take a sort of, we're going to move it forward perspective on it. Yeah, and I see a comment by Marilyn, and I agree. I mean, but I think, I think we can really take a role to educate ourselves and try to get as much information as possible and do the work and figure out how to give really meaningful feedback. I mean, the legislation alone, in terms of things we could suggest, there are, we're talking about the transfer station or reuse or deconstruction. You know, there's legislation other counties are doing. We could look at that. Other county council persons have tried to do that in the past. I think there's a lot of things we could try to move forward. It's clear that the county's done a good job in a number of ways. I mean, we all would like to see more. So there's areas that aren't fully addressed. And I think we can, we can work with the county to help make that happen.
Right, I think the question is how we most productively work with the county. I guess I hadn't realized until recently, more carefully reading the legislative mandate, that there's nothing in there that we're supposed to be working with DOE. We're supposed to be reporting to the county executive and to the county council, which is something, at least as far as I know, we've never done. And probably before we start doing that, we
Barbara,
might
I will
want.
disagree with you. It's never been done. There was a report done at least once.
Oh, sorry. It's since it's reformatted.
Yes, but
Yes.
it was reported, and it was reported to the county executive. And
Yeah, there was the
county-
2017
Because I personally made a presentation to the county council.
Yeah. Okay, but since it's a reformatted one, sorry, the reformatted SWAC. And probably before we start blowing off to the county exec and the county council, it would be politically correct to talk with Andrea. Maybe Marilyn, but I think probably Andrea, to just figure out how the DOE honchos see SWAC fitting in. If they see SWAC fitting in, and how. That we know what we can, should, might be doing.
Well, I think if that's going to happen, we've got to have an ongoing dialogue directly with Andrea. So-
Right, and I mean, she, last summer, she had said she would try to attend every second SWAC meeting on average. And she was here in October and not since. And has been asked, begged, invited, whatever, multiple times. So, I mean, she's a very busy lady, there's no question. She's being pulled in 200 different directions. But we're not a high priority. So I think it would be good.
Existing, yet you're a fool.
I'm sorry, Chuck? Did you just say something, Chuck?
I got a phone call. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But I think it'll be. So Kevin, Andrea said she's coming next month, or she's just not coming this month?
I was advised that she's not available tonight.
Did she give any indication of if she's available at any future meetings?
I'll check. I'll check with her office.
Okay. Because Marilyn, your audio is still not working. You're still only involved communicating by chat.
Yeah, I think so.
I
She's
take it.
unable to
Okay.
use her audio.
Me your dinner or no? What?
Okay. So,
All right, we'll deal with it after.
Yeah, her audio is not working, Barbara.
okay, it's still not working. Okay. So, yeah, okay, because yeah, trying to do everything over chat is sort of a drag and a half. And we appreciate you coming, Marilyn, even if unfortunately it doesn't connect in. We appreciate that. Yeah. So maybe we should work in getting together a bunch of questions and information we would love to get for the SWAC to move forward. I think nobody can object if we say we want to try to best fulfill our legislative mandate and that we need documents and information in order to do that. So you'd think there shouldn't be any objection to that. But Kevin,
Barbara,
did
Barbara?
I? Oh, yeah.
I was just saying, maybe what we should do is pass the questions along to you, the group, and then you would submit them.
Sure. Sounds fantastic.
You have a question for me, Barbara?
Yeah, kind of. When Nancy asked for the budget, it didn't come until after it was publicly posted. Was that just unfortuitous timing? Or was that some vision into how much the DOE wants to share with the SWAC?
Barbara, I think we were told once before that they couldn't share it or wouldn't share it until it was a public document. And that's one of the issues that we might raise with the director, because I recall we were told that at least twice, that it wouldn't be shared until it was a public document.
Was that the budget? I thought that was
No, that was
10-year
the
solid
budget.
waste plan.
No, that was the budget.
I didn't realize we'd even asked for the budget before.
Yeah,
Am I wrong, Kevin?
we are not able to release the budget until the county executive office releases it.
Now you heard it again, Barbara. He just said it.
That's why I provided the link after the county executive presented the budget in College Park on Wednesday, and then after that they published the budget. So we waited until the county executive released the budget, and then share the link with you, with your group.
Right, yeah, no, you said you did that. No, I know.
Mhm.
Okay, had you previously told us that you could not release any draft budget and only, and after the county executive releases it to the general public, Kevin?
I don't recall, Barbara.
Excuse me, let me say something. It is not a standard procedure of the Office of the Management and Budget. I think the director is Stanley Early. They do not release budget until it is made public. And the county executive have to do the presentation to the public with the director. After that, then it will be public information. That has been a standard procedure for years.
I see, okay, so it has nothing to do with DOE, it's Office of Budget. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, didn't know that. Okay. So the other thing, Kevin, I'll ask, or Kevin and Marilyn, and yeah, I guess we don't have too many minutes if we want to end at 7. But I noticed that there's this $2 million grant on messaging, et cetera, which the county has gotten the grant. And as you know, that has been the soapbox of several of us, of messaging. So if we can learn anything more about the grant, and if the DOE will be willing to involve the SWAC in the future implementation in part of this $2 million grant. I mean, that we would become part of it, or
Barbara, we haven't received that grant yet. We're waiting for the result.
oh, you haven't gotten it yet.
Yes, we're waiting for her the announcement whether we got it or not. So yeah.
Oh. So it does, is it looking like you're thinking it's likely that's going to come about?
Hopefully, yes. We're positive. We develop a good proposal. We just submitted it last February 15. So it takes time to process the submission, and they will review it. But hopefully we'll get that grant.
Okay, if it comes through, as you know, the SWAC would be very interested in providing input to messaging.
Mhm.
Because I don't know if you saw, I just emailed out, I just got a thing from the my PGC, a very nice mailing on suggesting people think about repurposing, repairing, reusing, rather than just trashing things. But unfortunately, that only goes to the small fraction of the tree huggers of us who have signed up to get these mailings. And it's that sort of messaging that I think needs to go to JOQ Public.
Barbara, before we close out the meeting, you might remind people that there's a countywide cleanup on the 22nd of April.
Cool, thank you for doing that.
Communities can sign up. County will supply the bags and the sticks and those kinds of things. But it is countywide, April 22nd. There is a flyer out.
Cool. And then now that everybody has tuned in, just to remind that I had missed, but other smart people saw, that we have by the end of the month to get in those financial disclosure forms again. And so I will be reaching out to the nice lady that from the ethics or whatever it was office, who last year offered to help us with it. And I know she had to walk me through it. I couldn't get mine submitted.
Financial statements, I did mine online and had no problem. As long as you have a county account, you can get online and post it. It was no problem. Mine's already done.
Terrific, congratulations.
I think the problem we had last year was with the ethics training.
It was with both. She did the ethics
Yeah,
training. but she-
I didn't have a problem getting in, and I got in and posted it, and no problem.
Okay, I had a lot of trouble with the financial because they wanted to list all the stocks you've sold and bought. And since we have funds, there are thousands of them, which you're not going to individually list. And she just said to write random. So she did that for me. So. Okay. Well, it being 7.00. Do we have anything else to do here in the big group, or think about doing some things in committee and hope for next month Andrea coming?
Barbara, one thing, if your group can start drafting the annual report until your next month's meeting, the annual report that is submitted to the county council and the county executive office.
Okay, I was going to look, Kevin, on that. I'm still hassling with these computers now. It's, sorry, I'm not going to bitch about that, but it's a pain in the butt. At any rate, but I can now transfer stuff from the old one to the new one on a flash drive at least. So the minutes that you guys have nicely taken of all of the meetings, those are on the website, or I know you have emailed them out, but I'm not quite certain I have them all. Are they on the website, or if they're not, can I trouble you to please send me copies of them?
Can send my notes and Barbara.
Thank you.
The agenda items are in the on your website.
Right, yeah, no, it's the minutes of the
The minute,
meeting.
mm.
Yeah, not the agenda, right? Yeah. Fantastic. So,
Move we adjourn.
any last comments? If not, thank you all for coming,
Good night.
and
Thank
let's
you.
hope we can figure out how to be helpful to the county.
Thank you.
Thank you.